Thank you for joining us. It is November 11th, 2020, Veterans Day. Thanks for joining us for this next of our Technical Talks webinar. I have some patriotic music playing in the background on purpose. I want to say thank you to our veterans. Thank you to our presenter today, Doug Buch. And I'm going to work my way through this presentation, but first with this intro, as I keep a little music going, which we don't normally do. I want to let you know that I'm going to host the intro slides and the closing slides on my computer here, and I'm going to turn it over to Doug. What I said earlier, for those that chimed in early, is I didn't get all of Doug's videos embedded into this PowerPoint, so I'm going to hand over controls after my intro slides, give it to Doug for his presentation, and then I'll take it back at the end. As always, please feel free to use the Q&A to ask us questions during. We have 59 participants, and that number is going to increase here. We had 88 registrants when I checked early this morning, and more coming. So please use the Q&A. We don't use the chat function. And I am sharing my screen, and I'm going to be joined by Doug Buch here in a couple of minutes. But first, just a quick background on us as I stop this music. ASP, Quick Supply, Bowman Construction Supply, and Cascade Geosynthetics are all one company. I'm the one civil engineer you see on the screen there. Our companies have been around for more than 40 years, providing not only construction site solutions, but also advice. And that's how we became the trusted site solution specialists across a large part of the United States. And we do have site solutions that include our erosion control, sediment control, geosynthetics, geotextiles, in addition to stormwater management, which is my specialty. And many of our branches have hardscapes and some really awesome outdoor living solutions. But we've also grown in some other paving solutions and some other things that you might not think fit with the rest of our offerings. When in doubt, ask us. If you go to a conference, or you're looking online, or you're looking through a magazine and you see a solution you're not familiar with, reach out to your local rep from our companies or contact me directly, and we might actually know something about it or something like it. And we are blessed with not only a lot of warehouse space, but a lot of yard space and a lot of trucks and a lot of drivers. One of the things we specialize in is putting together a specific order to bring to your site at a time that works for you. And we're very good at satisfying those needs. Even during this pandemic, we have broken records in many of our branches throughout our companies with our sales numbers, because being in an essential industry, one thing that didn't slow down, fortunately, this year was construction. And the weather's cooperated to the tune of having, even in our northern states, Iowa, Nebraska, and even up in the Pacific Northwest, where we are just still trucking right along. And normally the upper Midwest right now would be getting close to frozen and starting to shut down some projects, but we're still going strong. So much so that some of our contractor customer friends are getting a little worn out. Some of those folks like to be laid off in the winter to do some hunting and to rest and recover, but they're still going strong, fortunately. So towards the end of this, I'll share our contact information again. Please reach out to me or any of us through any way you like to, whether it be social media or through our website or just the old-fashioned phone call. We'd love to get together with you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Doug, and I'm going to hand over the not only stop screen sharing, but I'm going to read his bio while I'm doing that. So Doug, I'm stopping screen sharing now.
Sounds good.
You should be able to unmute yourself and pick that up. Start sharing your screen, and I'm going to introduce my good buddy Doug. And I hear you, Doug. It's looking good. Doug Buch is a 1992 graduate from the University of Iowa. He's held several regional and national sales roles and executive positions within the construction industry over the past 25 years. He launched the PaveDrain system in the fall of 2008 and has traveled around the world promoting the PaveDrain system. And I've been blessed to see him in action across the United States at conferences where he is talking not only with us, but also international customers and friends in the business. But I'm really excited to have you folks hear what Doug has to introduce you to today. He is a consummate professional, and I'm very proud of him. With that, Doug, take it away.
Thank you, Billy. Tremendous introduction. I know those reading those bios can get quite long, so I cut it in half, and got rid of a bunch more, and just stated a few of the obvious.
Well, I took the part out where you talked about being a Hawkeye football stud, because it's still a little raw for me.
That one out. That was a long time ago. Let's back up a couple of slides here. So there's my where our office is located at, and then the first thing we're going to show you is
our cities are covered with impermeable surfaces. When it rains, rainwater has nowhere to go, except to sewer systems that struggle to handle the unprecedented strain. That's why we asked, what does your pavement do for you? green technology has mostly failed to mitigate urban flooding and recharge aquifers. Green solutions look great on paper and may perform well at the start, but they disappoint quickly due to maintenance headaches, weak design, and their inability to handle intense rain events. The PaveDrain system solves these problems. For over 10 years, the PaveDrain system has proven effective for property owners looking to fix their drainage and paving challenges. The PaveDrain system is a simple yet unique solution that incorporates a patented arch design into large interlocking concrete blocks. The PaveDrain blocks are manufactured locally, available in several different colors, and are ADA compliant. When installed, gaps are left between the blocks for an unprecedented infiltration rate. Over time, debris will fill the joints, but maintenance is accomplished with vacuum trucks that remove the accumulated debris. Unlike other pavement systems, even when 75% clogged, the PaveDrain system still allows massive amounts of stormwater to infiltrate into the ground. With a properly designed and compacted open aggregate base, the PaveDrain system doesn't experience freeze or thaw heaving and can maintain its structure under extreme pressure. We also offer heated PaveDrain, which eliminates the need for salt. The heated system infiltrates melted snow back into the ground, preventing runoff, which won't become an ice liability for you or your neighbor. So think about it. What does your pavement do for you? Contact us today to see how we can help with your new or existing infrastructure challenges. And visit our website at www.pavedrain.com to see recent success stories. PaveDrain, the world-leading permeable paving system.
There you have it. That video really does quite the job of selling it, but and telling everybody what it does. But I'm obligated to go through the whole thing because Bill promised to buy me lunch. So
Well played.
This is what the PaveDrain system is. We started in 2008, and those of you around in 2008 remember what happened quickly at the end of 2008. The economy imploded, yet somehow we were able to keep going. And our first large-scale project was with this little company out there called Ford Motor Company in Louisville, Kentucky. Told about 90,000 square foot, still in use today. And in 2018, 15,000 square foot of it was picked up, removed, and then reinstalled in another area due to plant expansion. So when we talk about the PaveDrain system being a sustainable stormwater solution, it is truly sustainable. They literally picked it up, moved it, and it's doing the same job it did 15 years ago, just in a different spot. The only maintenance that has been completed on this whole project was by PaveDrain, and they have allowed us a lot of access out there for demonstration purposes and some R&D that we've done over the years. So they've never touched it. Ford promised the engineering firm they would never do any maintenance on it, and boy, have they held true to that. So since that time, we have given you a partial listing of some of the companies around the United States, who's who of branding around the country projects that we've done. And also we have just gotten into municipality after municipality around the country installing this. When we first got going, the large majority of our customers in the early first 5-6 years of the company was all really on the private side, very little on the municipal side. That has completely and utterly switched and flipped over, where about 80% of our business is now in the municipal market, from city streets and alleyways and parking lots, and on and on and on. So we'll get into those as we keep going. We've also done a number of work at universities around the country too. So what is PaveDrain? The first thing we really try to differentiate ourselves from is this: it is not a paver. It has the only real characteristic it has with a paver is that it's made out of concrete. That is it. We do everything we can to differentiate ourselves from the permeable interlocking concrete pavers, permeable pavers. We do everything we can to do that. We really like to look at ourselves, or think of ourselves, as a second generation. We took a lot of the positives of that, and what we really believe we did is we improved on this. So what is PaveDrain? It's a permeable articulating concrete block, or PACBM. It follows an existing ACB, articulating concrete block, ASTM. This has been around since the 1970s. Each individual block is 12 inches by 12 inches, 5.65 inches tall, and weighs in at a robust 48-ish pounds. They're able to be picked up and installed by one person. There's a little known OSHA rule out there that says anything weighs over 50 pounds requires 2 people to install it. Well, we know that gets broken quite a bit. So what we are able to do with all of our different block manufacturers around the United States is take them this existing ASTM, take it to them, say, make it to this these specifications that have been around for many years. What it does a bunch of things at once. It paves, it drains, and it can also store stormwater above your open aggregate base. It is a system. We have multiple US and international patents. And what it really is a proven paving system. And you'll hear us say the word system all the time because we need the proper geotextiles, proper compaction, proper geogrids, and everything else for it to work the way it's designed to work. Manufacturing, we're very fortunate to manufacture the PaveDrain system all across the United States. In fact, you'll see it in basically everywhere across ASP Quick, Bowman Cascades area, all the way across the United States. And some of our biggest and best manufacturers are located in the central part of the country where ASP and Quick Supply are the most dominant. We have multiple ways of installing it. Hand place installation. Almost every project has some form of hand placement on it. A lot of you may be familiar with what we did early on in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, and into 2013, is we had mattress installations, and most of that stemmed from the market. There just wasn't enough work to go around, so the big general contractors all wanted to install mats across the parking lots, where they hooked up these 8x18 mats to a spreader bar supplied by us to a decent sized excavator, and they picked and swung large mattresses into place. We have not done a mattress job in over, I believe it's 5 or 6 years now. What everything has gone to is what is called machine lay. And this has been a great way of going about it. Many different types of people, contractors all across the country that do that type of installs. And between Bowman, ASP Quick, we can all figure out where that needs to go. Now, one of the biggest differences between PaveDrain and the permeable paver world is they require rocks between them joints, meaning a permeable paver or a paver requires rocks to interfill it. Why? They don't really interlock, even in a herringbone type fashion. And they also need that rock between the joints. It's called aggregate interlock in order to stay together, stay integral. PaveDrain, because the way it was designed, each individual block is surrounded by 6 blocks, 2 above, 2 below, and then 1 on each side. It is designed so that the joints between the PaveDrain blocks are meant to be left open. We do not want to sweep or fill these joints with rock. We want that water to get in the ground, get back into where it belongs. We do not want it running off. We want it back into the ground. The other thing that this does, eventually it'll fill up with debris. We understand that. And this will help tell you when it needs to be maintained. And we'll get into that in our maintenance section a little later on. All the corners are rounded so that no edge is created to catch on a snowplow. Will a steel snowplow blade do damage to a PaveDrain block? Absolutely. Will it chip it? Will it scrape it? Absolutely. Will it flip it out? Pretty much impossible. But it will do damage to it. After we get done in our northern climates, after the contractor gets done installing it, one of the things we recommend and really require in our northern environments is to seal it. And we can all help you determine what is the proper sealant to be done. Unlike other permeable systems, once installed, if they were sealed, they would no longer work. The PaveDrain system, once installed, you can go back in with a boom sprayer, a walk behind sprayer, whatever, and you can spray these into these systems and help seal them against the ravages of salt. Salt's very hard on anything with concrete. The PaveDrain system is no different. When we talk about PaveDrain, we talk about the system. Reasons we're with companies like ASP Quick, Bowman is because of their knowledge in the geotextile world. We need that system. We need it built correctly from the ground up. The bottom layer of geotextile or geogrid, depending on your project, is typically that when we talk geotextiles, we talk woven monofilaments or multifilaments. We do not, repeat, do not want the slit tapes. Those filaments are flat. They have a tremendous amount of tensile strength to them, but they do not allow water to pass through. The monofilaments or multifilaments, they allow tremendous amount of water to pass through. You hold it under a sink and all that water would go right through it, but they also have a tremendous amount of grab tensile strength to them so they can support the vehicular loading. One thing we don't want is the non-wovens or the felt-like geotextiles. Most of the times they just do not have enough tensile strength, and they also can clog. The rock layers, we need it compacted. We need it compacted in lifts. The bottom layer of rock on the bottom side, on the bottom part of the slide, is typically an ASTM number 2 or 3 size stone. That's basically the size of your fist. The top layer of rock, or our bedding layer, is an ASTM number 57 stone, 3/4 inch clean, angular. We want that rock all compacted in lifts and worked, especially that top layer of 57 stone, worked into that layer of number 2 or 3 stone. All of this is covered in our specification. The top layer is a geogrid, which we highly recommend, and then the PaveDrain gets installed on top of that. It's really, again, it's a system. The rock depth, this question gets brought up all the time. What is your average rock depth? The smallest we have done is about 2.5 inches, and it was for a pool deck, in which we did down in Florida. The deepest we have gone to date is about 10 feet. If there was an average, it's about 30 some inches of rock depth, with the vast majority of that being number 2 or 3 stone for a good amount of storage underneath. And then the last 4 to 6 inches being the number 57 stone, the PaveDrain set on top of that. We have never, I repeat, we have never had a pothole, and we never will. One of our first projects we got involved with was a project in Bladensburg, Maryland, right outside the nation's capital. They were tired of their asphalt parking lot and all of the maintenance headaches that went with it, including patching it, sealing it, resealing it, patching it some more, and then again, after you seal it, you have to go back in and restripe it. What they did is they went in and installed PaveDrain. And unique to this project, it never did anything but rain, sleet, and snow while they were putting this project in. Kind of unique to PaveDrain is the ability to work in inclement weather. We've had several projects that we've been involved with over the years that have allowed projects to get back on track or stay on track due to the fact that this is a precast system and it can be installed in rainy weather. Now, torrential downpour, nobody wants to really work in that, but it can be installed when it's raining, sprinkling a little bit, and we can still keep things on track. This particular project was under that, and they kept going and were allowed to put it in. After that project was installed, the fire truck. Infiltration rates, as you saw from the fire truck, is one of our big benefits. That whole fire truck there obviously drove right on top of the PaveDrain to empty the entire tanker load of that, and all 550 gallons were dumped in less than 60 seconds. Our infiltration rates are exceptional. Everybody tests according to an ASTM that's out there called ASTM C1701, and it's all about a lot of times referred to as the bucket test. Now, and basically why they call it the bucket test is you take a 5-gallon pail, you cut the bottom off of it, flip it over, take some plumber's putty, put it around the bottom of it, and press it into the plumber's putty. It's basically 11.5 inches in diameter. Then you take another 5-gallon pail with the bottom in this one and pour that into that ring, if you will. And you time how long it takes to infiltrate. Now, most permeable systems will infiltrate at 100 inches per hour, which is pretty exceptional. And permeable pavers around 100 inches per hour, pervious asphalt and concrete around 500-600 inches per hour. PaveDrain has been documented over and over again after several years of being installed at over 15, 16, 1700 inches per hour. Now, we understand that the soils beneath there are not going to percolate at that rate. We fully get and understand that. What we are trying to do is compare apples to apples, which is surface infiltration rates. Now, the next video we're going to show you does a documentation on all of these infiltration rates on a project out in Washington, D.C. area. And one of the things I want you to pay attention to is the dates of when everything was installed.
I'm Sean Simone Pietri, Exact Stormwater Management. I do a lot of stormwater BMP installations, maintenance, and testing. I'm here today in Northwest DC, hired by Ernest Meyer to do some testing on porous pavers, porous asphalt, porous concrete, and PaveDrain. We've tested 4 systems today. The porous pavers that we started with, we got 3.2 inches per hour infiltration rate. Then we went to porous concrete and we got 2.4 inches per hour. We went to porous asphalt. We got 3.1 inches per hour. And we're here at the PaveDrain and we got 1,640 inches per hour infiltration rate. This is all according to ASTM C1701.
One of the things we want to point out there about our test, if you notice the background, we were installed a full year earlier and also under a tree, which dropped a tremendous amount of debris. All of the practices tended to drain down near us, and we were not real happy about the way it went, but we were thrilled with the results. The infiltration rates are one benefit to us, and that is a tremendous start. Other things we can provide for you are AutoCAD drawings on top of AutoCAD drawings. I have a saying, and that's I think it's a lot easier to edit than it is to create something from scratch. So now we're going to get into some of our again our advantages, and the Achilles heel of green infrastructure GI really has been maintenance. It has been it's kind of been what chases people away. And our massive infiltration is a start. And we have been a part of numerous, multiple studies all across the country. And these maintenance has all been documented, and we can low cost results, and we'll get into that now. So things we can provide for you. One of the first tests we're involved with was assessment, infiltration, performance, and maintenance of the PaveDrain system. And it started out as a permeable pavement study. And the other systems plugged and clogged so fast in the environment they were installed in, it became a PaveDrain study that we still document, use to this day, and it is still going on right now. Second big test we're involved with was the University of Central Florida, UCF, in Orlando, and that turned into quite the study in itself. They test things a little bit different in terms of their infiltration device. They don't really use the ASTM C1701. They go about their own methodology called the ERIC. And this is just how dirty they make everything down there. So what they do is they come out with a bobcat and they literally dump topsoil on that. If any of you landscape architects or civil engineers or owners are out there, you know that this can happen, where a load of mulch gets dumped onto a permeable system that nobody wanted it to. And difference with this one is they watered this in and really went to work on it. Then they let it cook in the hot Florida sun for a couple of days. And then what they did is it came back to us and said, time to clean it. And we went out with our PaveDrain vac head, which we'll show you some videos on here shortly. And we were able to clean this and bring it back to 90+% of its original infiltration rate. What we're trying to tell you here is we know people don't like maintenance. If I was in a room right now, I'd say show of hands of any owner that likes to do maintenance. Says no one ever. And what's going to happen is we know full well that the maintenance is going to get kicked down the road, pushed down, kicked down the road again, forgotten altogether, and now we're in trouble. The PaveDrain system has the ability to be brought back to literally almost brand new when maintenance is completed with the right equipment. So after all of these tests, we then were a part of another University of Louisville test with pollutant removal. And then we were part of an EPA test, continuing EPA test in Louisville talking about utilizing a permeable system in conjunction with traditional gray infrastructure. This photo that you see on the right has been repeated over and over and over and over again in municipalities across the United States. Tetra Tech went about their own study in Detroit on a project, very similar type of stuff. Everybody was trying to come up with their own infiltration rate on how they did it. This study echoed what was going on our circle on the right there. So this is what was really done on Control 19H and 19G for the city of Louisville and a study by the University of Louisville. Now, most permeable systems out there talk about a run-on ratio of 1-to-1 or 5-to-1, meaning 1 square foot of impervious surface running onto 1 square foot of a permeable surface, or 5-to-1. Well, these ratios were much higher. They were 16-to-1 and 20-to-1. There's just a tremendous amount of debris, organics, cigarette butts, you name it, running down this street and collecting in the PaveDrain system. Everybody's familiar with the hydrograph that is out there. What the PaveDrain system is doing is leveling out the hydrograph. Obviously, traditional gray infrastructure has a huge hill or a huge bump in it. Traditional and green infrastructure can help offset that, making it look more like Mother Nature. PaveDrain does an exceptional job of doing that. The problem becomes, how do you clean this? Clogging and maintenance, we know that it's going to happen. We know that these joints are going to be filled up. PaveDrain has the unique ability that you can basically drive over it, walk over it. If the joints look like this, meaning it's been filled up with debris, it's probably time to do some maintenance. But how to do it and how to go get it done. We have various types of maintenance that we got into. Our original PaveDrain vac head and sewer truck did a really tremendous job of doing this. As you can see before and after videos of doing that, it really worked great. It even removed some of the particulates that have been pressed down and pushed down from pressure washing. This is a tremendous way of going about it. That you saw, or that video you just watched, was of the Elgin whirlwind going by. Now, what was happening to us when we got out into the marketplace was, as we started doing bigger and bigger projects, especially in streets, municipalities said we just cannot have our laborers walking around out in front of a truck, distracted drivers, things like that, liability. We get all that. So we went to several different vacuum companies. There's other vacuum trucks out there. There's a pure vacuum truck that can go over the top of the PaveDrain system, and you can see very clearly suck out that debris. There's so much suction on those trucks that the PaveDrain blocks will actually rattle and move a little bit. And you can see with the amount of force that has, that it basically sucks all of that debris up into the joints, and it also cleans the blocks as well, just that little bit of water. What we even did is took a tape measure and dropped it down in between the joints to show that we were going all the way down to the rock base, or the geogrid that this was sitting on. Let's see what's happening.
Anything I can do to help you?
Hang on. Let's see if I'm going to just stop it here for a second. I'm going to jump to this one, and I'm going to go back to this one, and let's see if it starts back up. There it goes.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. The results in the red line represents the cumulative surface runoff. The black line represents what was captured. Now, in those two small little projects, let's call it, it was about 1,200 square feet. In 1 year's time, they captured over 250,000 gallons of square feet, excuse me, on about 1,500 square feet. Now, that was just 1 year, and it really, all of that water came in the last about 2.5 months of the year. It was a drought the first half of the year. All of that came at once. Now, when you start taking about 1,500 square feet, and in 1 year it accumulated 250,000 gallons, and the next year 250,000 gallons, the next year, you can start seeing and you start moving this and putting areas of this all across your city, you can really affect localized flooding and infiltrate and capture a staggering amount of stormwater and put it back down into the ground and not send it off to the wastewater treatment plant or whatever else is being done with the stormwater runoff. Gotta love Google Earth for some of this stuff. Now, the project we were on there showed a street maintenance project with a lot of organics. What we were trying to do is also do a little research on a little less than organics. So this is the very original Ford project that we were on that we mentioned right in the first few slides. Zero maintenance have been done on this. This Google Earth shot shows less than half of the area. Obviously, the areas outlined in yellow are the paved drain areas. Everything in this traditional parking lot all goes towards the paved drain area here. And what was going on with there is there was a staggering amount of debris that was out there. We're showing you that the Elgin whirlwind is what was utilized out there. It's the amount of debris, mud that was brought in off these trucks, brought into the parking lot, would wash off the vehicles and wash right onto the paved drain. You can see we're only showing about 4 feet of paved drain, and just how dirty that is after, let's call it was almost in for basically, it was at that time, I believe it was just over 8 years. First pass over the top prior to cleaning on the left, and one pass on the right. And you can see just how much debris was sucked up by that Elgin whirlwind. They made several passes around those one of those areas. And then what we did is we opened up the back of the truck. And in the back of that truck was a staggering amount of nastiness. Now, if you were to fill that truck, or if you were to use permeable pavers out there, what would be in the back of that truck? In the back of the truck would be debris, but also it'd be all the rock that you have to, that it was sucked out, which would mean your dumping costs would increase greatly. Then you have to go rebuy the rock, and you have to reinstall all that rock. With paved drain, you simply suck it out and you're done, and on you go. What was starting to become apparent to us is over the years, as we were doing project after project, we started hearing stories and tales of how we used to have flooding in this area. It's now gone. We had this issue happen, it's gone. All of these different situations started coming up, and people started really wondering, how much stormwater are we really capturing? And we did too. And then the other thing came up is everybody keeps talking about, well, when do I maintain it? I know there's a visual way of looking at it, and we've discussed that, but people are also looking for a take a man-made decision out of it, and let's electronically have something tell us. So we started asking ourselves, how much stormwater are we capturing, and can we have some other way to maintain this? What we started doing is we hooked up with a company here in Milwaukee called P4 INFIL-Tracker, and they came up with a battery and solar powered sensor that can be installed into an existing paved drain system. It doesn't have to be done up front. It can all be done after the paved drain is installed. And the INFIL-Tracker can be installed into the paved drain system, and it will send a sensor up to a rooftop or on top of a pole that can then send a message to a computer to tell you just how much stormwater you have captured, and also if you are not capturing any more stormwater, what that maintenance is ready to go. So this is a tremendous slide here showing what this cross section can look like. I'm gonna give everybody a little bit of a minute here to really digest this slide. So the pictures on the right show you the INFIL-Tracker. It's a solar operated, battery operated enclosure. That top battery there, that solar panel, can be driven on. It can be scraped up to 90, I believe it's 93% scraped up, and it will still charge the batteries. And what it does is then it sends a signal to the relay station on top that's hooked up to the internet, that can then sends a signal to a computer at a desk somewhere telling it exactly what is going on. The beautiful part of this, one of the big things we demanded was that this needs to be installed after the fact, meaning we did not want to have to coordinate everything, and it would just be impossible to coordinate some sort of sensor being installed prior to the construction or during construction. We do it afterwards. It can go into an existing PaveDrain job that has been in for, quite frankly, several years, like this one has in Wisconsin that we did. Now, taking a picture of the, looking at the left, you will see the Infil-Tracker is installed, and we're showing a cross section. The Infil-Tracker device is basically, it's really just a float valve inside of there. What was happening to us on our clay-based soils was that everybody is under the notion, and geotechnical engineers will tell you that you can't infiltrate on clay, you can't infiltrate on clay. Well, what we were seeing and electronically monitoring and documenting is that it does infiltrate on clay. Maybe not as fast, of course not as fast, but in most cases in 72 hours, the water level is completely gone. Now, the other thing we started doing was the engineering firms out in Wisconsin and P4 INFIL-Tracker started putting what is called a real-time control valve, or RTC valve, on the pipe and on an underdrain pipe inside the manhole. This RTC valve, real-time control valve, is not, it is all done electronically. And when the float valve hits a certain level inside that aggregate storage base area, that storage bed area, the real-time control valve turns itself on slightly to lower the water level down to a predetermined level, and then it shuts itself off. What this allows municipalities and engineering firms to do is get full credit for the amount of stormwater you are infiltrating, and tells a much better story on just how much water you are capturing inside a paved drain cross section. Some of the rain events that we have captured and done, it was on literally what has been termed bathtub clay. This will never infiltrate, and yet it is infiltrating. We just got to give it more than 12 hours to get it done. 72 hours later, it's almost always gone back down to zero. We have documentation to prove it. It's really quite impressive. Now, the other thing this tends to do for us is it shows us when debris and clogging is happening. How many pavements are out there that could actually tell you that they are clogged and plugged and they need to be cleaned? How many pavements could get that clogged and plugged? You can see moss growing on the paved drain on the left, and what we can bring it back to be cleaned and looking into brand new and get going again. This is just a tremendous benefit of PaveDrain, the PaveDrain system, and the addition of P4 INFIL-Tracker and the Infil-Tracker device. That whole system with the Infil-Tracker is about, call it about $10,000 available from ASP Quick, and add in the real-time control valve if you have that. That is probably added on about $2,000 to that. So $10,000 to $12,000 for those materials to literally tell you and your municipality just how much benefits you are getting from a green infrastructure. This is, a lot of people don't know. They put in a bioswale. Have any idea how much a bioswale is taken on or not taken on? We can document all of that. We can figure it down to the price per gallon you are capturing on a yearly basis. Tremendous story right there. Now we want to get a little bit of a construction ability of the sequence of paved drain on a city street. Asphalt, compact, compact, compact. Nice thing about PaveDrain, if it's installed ahead of time, which is what we really want, you can run the asphalt machine and the roller right next to the PaveDrain. You can see the geogrid extending past that a little bit. Again, all the geogrid, geotextiles, PaveDrain, all is a package deal from ASP Quick. And you can see this roller driving right next to it. Other thing we started looking at was the silica laws that are out there. And we can get by with a lot of projects where we barely cut any paved drain blocks. And you'll see around this manhole, it is much easier, exponentially easier to just have paved drain be the form. Paved drain's not a paver. This is big. These are thick blocks. You put a little expansion joint on the sides, it's a form. And pour the concrete right around it. Looks better, lasts longer. If anybody's ever walked over a little paver job and seeing a little cut piece, it's always the first one that is broken, missing, and it just doesn't look good. So this is one of the things, another benefit of the PaveDrain system and how we go about doing it. The infiltration rate is unprecedented. We don't need every last square foot right up to a manhole in order to achieve our proper infiltration rates. Minimal block cutting is a tremendous benefit on this. So also on city streets, on asphalt, it's a project in Indiana that we'd love to showcase on what went down with this particular project. There's no ribbon curb on this. Getting rid of the ribbon curb saves a tremendous amount of money by doing that. This particular project was bid head to head against traditional gray infrastructure. We had no inlets, no ribbon curbs, sanitary pipe only on this. This is very easily repaired. If you have to repair some blocks, you pop out a block in literally a matter of seconds. And what the city is telling us, because they are now on phase project number 6, their asphalt is lasting longer on this. And just think about this from a traditional infrastructure. Inlets, $3,500 each are gone. Storm pipe, gone. Detention ponds, don't forget about property taxes, gone. Faster asphalt deterioration, which means you have a lot more to do. And what we are also hearing is more maintenance. This green infrastructure project with PaveDrain was over $100,000 less than traditional infrastructure. Quite the story. And this project went on for about 6 blocks on each side. So sequence of city streets with concrete. Now we showed asphalt. We have concrete customers out there. There's a particular project is in Milwaukee. What we have asked the contractors to do is overpour the city street by an inch or so, come back in with a concrete saw to cut it straight, because no matter how straight the contractors think they're pouring the concrete, pretty tough to do. And the concrete saw will cut it much straighter, and you can drop the PaveDrain blocks right into a predetermined measurement. So neither the PaveDrain blocks have to be cut, only the city street. Very efficient way to cut off an inch or two of the excess concrete and drop in the PaveDrain. So Midwest projects, here we go. The first project we're gonna show there's on the left, that's a street rehab project in Clinton, Iowa. And we had another really unique project here in, this one's in Wisconsin. You wanna make a landowner happy, tell them they can get rid of their detention ponds and sell about 10 more sheds, storage sheds, rent that out. The return on the investment was basically immediate. And then another project, on the bottom, that is Parkway North High School, I believe in Chesterfield, Missouri. Very large project that was completed about, I believe about 4 or 5 years ago. And we'd love to know just the amount of water that parking lot in its own right has captured and collected. Some other Midwest projects, Trailhead Parkway in Kansas City, Kansas. Yes, PaveDrain does come in color blocks like you see there. Another one in Nebraska, I believe this is Lake Cunningham, right outside of Omaha. And this is also ADA compliant, as you can see by all of the ADA markings on this. And the bottom picture is Upland Townhomes in Pueblo, Colorado. There was a supplied, I believe it was already going on 2 years old out that way. Some other unique projects. This is one in Wisconsin going around a turn or radius. They never cut a block going around this. There's no ribbon curb on this, especially on the outside, because the blocks all literally pinch against one another, and you'd have to shove all of those blocks out of the way to get them to move. And that project, the blocks have a little bit of an accordion effect to them. Next picture we're showing you is installed on a 7.5% slope on a bus turnaround area at a high school out in Silver Spring, Maryland. Full disclosure on that, we utilized all solid blocks on that particular project because we were a little fearful of the legs digging in on that steep of a slope. Of note, that previous bus turnaround was asphalt, and they had to replace it every, call it 3 to 4 years. And they finally got tired of doing it. It has been installed since 2010, and they've never had to replace it. Little driveway application as well, because we do some residential work. Some other applications, another project in the Midwest. I believe this one's in Wisconsin. And most of the times you'll see the PaveDrain be installed in parking stalls. This was put in the drive aisles. And why they did that was the buildings on the right and left were rather old, and the maintenance guy did not want a permeable surface right next to his very leaky basements. So the design firm moved it to the inside. Being from Wisconsin, I have to show you by state law a Harley Davidson that we can park on top of that. So there's done. Bill, if anybody has any complaints, please make a note that I have showed the Harley Davidson. And a unique project, the National Arboretum in Washington, D.C. Sidewalks becoming quite the little market for us in certain parts of the country, namely in Hawaii, where I will be in February. Surprising, right? Midwest, guy going to Hawaii in February. So we all do colors. Most popular color is gray. Second most popular color is charcoal. Yes, the charcoal does melt snow faster, as we've seen, and it is a tremendous way to hide all of the drippings and everything else that occur on a PaveDrain system, and some colored projects across the country we've done. Most of these are in Florida. Another project that we've gotten involved with is we're starting to do bicycle lanes. If anybody has ever looked at the paint that goes, the green paint that goes on top of asphalt that seems to last about 10 minutes, we have started doing green PaveDrain blocks. Now I'll warn you, these PaveDrain blocks, these are the most expensive. The two most expensive colors we can do are green and blue. And then third is yellow. These are very expensive colors to do because we have so much pigmentation to buy to make them green. And we also have to buy white cement and a lot of times white sand in order to really make this green stand out. But the green lasts a staggering amount of time as compared to the painted on green. And additionally, this is permeable, so we can ride across this. Do not have to worry about bicycle slipping, because guess what? It's going to be dry. The water is going to infiltrate down into the PaveDrain. And Mary Kripe, engineer for engineer of City of Goshen, they did a sanctioned bicycle road race. These are those small little tires that they rode along a full block of the PaveDrain system and experienced no ill effects from riding on top of the PaveDrain. Stroller video is that several things you'll probably notice, that the gentleman's grandkids were not bouncing around. Cup of coffee that I bought him to give it to videotape the gentleman. And the third thing you notice is the question that he asked. I was not trying to be rude when I cut him off from the video. That was just our fifth take. The guy couldn't help himself. He had to have been an engineer because he had to ask that question of how do you do this? And so that was our fifth take. So we just simply cut him off and then explained to it off film. So. But it's a tremendous video showing that. Another great thing for a way to make your project look good and stand out, and maybe you can use a fundraiser, is logo blocks. These can be purchased from ASP Quick, depending on the amount of design being done to it. These can be purchased for anywhere from $75 to $500 and sold as a fundraiser from $500 to $2,000. And it's really quite tremendous fundraiser for you in certain projects and also to accentuate your project. That is all I got for right now. Bill, I think we wanted 45 minutes. I think we hit it right on the button.
You nailed it. And I do have some Q&A questions from some friends of mine. One engineer that challenges me really, really well with her questions is Madison Gibler. I guess I should let them remain anonymous. So I shouldn't say their name. I didn't ask their permission. But she asked a question a little while ago about your Louisville, Kentucky example. Did she hear you right that the volume captured exceeded the volume of runoff? And if so, how's that possible? When we say it was, we think it was a little bit of a misread from the electronic sensor. And when it was gallons, there was a few gallons that it did. Well, what we think that was that it went up into the arch, and that was a little bit more calculated because what they were really calculating was just the rock base, I believe. So. But it was really. And she also asked about, is there a threshold? And I think you're going to see my computer here for a minute, and I apologize. Mm-hmm. Is there a threshold for the Infil-Tracker as far as, when does it go off, and is there a limit for its operation? If you could see her questions, that'd be great, because I'm going to go through here and change what I'm showing on the screen. Can you see the Q&A yourself?
I cannot. Oh, hang on. Nope, I'm still on yours.
Okay, no worries. Let me go back to the Q&A then, because I can see that. So she just asked, what's the threshold for Infil-Tracker for sending a signal indicating maintenance needed? And the second question, is there a certain infiltration rate that the equipment identifies as minimum acceptable? When does it tell you it needs cleaned?
So what we would do with that is you got to get an initial reading. So, and what we would say is you can set that threshold. So say you got a 1-inch rain event in 2021, in May of 2021, And that 1 inch rain event, I'm throwing out numbers here, was 300,000 gallons of volume that was captured. And then in 2024, you had another 1 inch rain event and you only captured 150,000 gallons. That means something's running off and it's plugged up and it's running off the page. So you can set that and determine that. We can give guidelines. I hope that's answering the question, but
Yeah, I think it
as an
does.
operator, you would see that it's not capturing as much.
And the common question you get even before the P4 INFIL-Tracker is, what's the typical maintenance? This is from Maggie Jones. Typical maintenance, vacuuming, cleaning schedule you see for paved drains. And I know your answer, but I like the way you answer it.
Here's how I answer it. Parking lots. We have parking lots that were installed in 2008, 9, 10, 11. They still haven't been touched. Parking lots, for the most part, are incredibly easy. Streets are equally challenging. Streets a lot of times need it 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times a year, depending on what is going on, if you really want to maintain it. Now, the project I showed, and everybody remembers the slide where I say, yo, I need a cleaning with that. That was, I will not say where it was from, but it was a Midwest city, and they had never done it in 6 years. And it was in rough shape, heavy urban setting, crazy amount of canopy right over the top of it. And they could tell it wasn't working because the residents came back to them and said, hey, we're starting to get flooding in our yards again. We need this to be cleaned. And that is what really drove it, was the city went out and said, yep, this stuff's dirty. And they got in touch with a maintenance company via us. And that maintenance company went out and maintained 6 city blocks for this city. So that was without electronics.
A fun story that I love telling my sales team is I have run into a lot of public works folks. This is before COVID. I mean, I have not been traveling much at all, but when I would travel around to all the cities and all those states shown on the US map, I would often see public works guys stopping at a convenience store, and I would see them driving an Elgin Whirlwind or even an Elgin Megawind. And I would say, oh, sweet, do you use your truck to clean permeable pavements? And they'd say, what? I go, do you use that truck to clean permeables? And they say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I use that truck to clean sewers. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. They go, no, we use a street sweeper for our streets. So I'd try to explain to them what I meant by PaveDrain and the permeable systems. And they said, nope, didn't know that truck could do it. And there are people who actually own those amazing machines that do not use them to clean PaveDrain. So what I do is I usually contact that city and try to present PaveDrain to them because they already have the machine that could clean it.
You got the equipment to clean it. You are way out in front. Now
yeah,
you just
exactly.
Put the PaveDrain in and document how much you're capturing, and you got a tremendous story. And
we're doing great on time because you're really efficient with your answers, unlike me with my stories. Another question that Madison Gibbler asked is about the real-time control. She's asking if there's a certain company that you recommend for the real-time control valves, and does the $2,000 include a subscription to keep that running?
The $2,000 does not. Yes, that would all come from P4 Infrastructure via Quick Supply. Quick Supply ESP will sell that to you for that price. It does not include a subscription. I believe it is. I don't even want to. I think it's like $600 a year.
Okay.
Something like that.
That sounds familiar from previous conversations, but Madison, I'll get back in touch with you. In fact, I plan on giving a presentation directly to you in your office. I know not everybody could join us today, which points me to another thing I like to mention with these. I'm recording this presentation. So if there's somebody in your company or your office that was unable to join us today, we will have this available on our YouTube channel, and we'll make that link available through our ASP and Quick Supply website. And that's something that if you folks have somebody in your company watch this, participate after the fact, I will send them a question. If they answer it as though they watched the video, I'll give them the PDH certificate. So with that, I'm going to click quickly through your slides. Actually, I'll just go to the slide sorter. One that you went by pretty quickly because you were concerned about time was this slide that I think is absolutely awesome with the graphic. And I noticed on one of your on the slide after this, Doug, you showed multiple P4 INFIL-Trackers, even on one project. Here We're looking at just one. What can you tell us about that? When would you decide to use more than one?
A lot of times you decide to use more than one if you have a project that spans, because we get in 10, 12 blocks. One probably is not going to cover you on a project like that. You're going to need maybe as many as 3. And it kind of depends on the on the environment that it's installed in. If it's installed in a very woody neighborhood with a huge canopy, you might need an extra one. If you are out in the open, like we're showing there on the picture up in the right, up on the Infil-Tracker there, there's nothing threatening that. You only need one. So, and we can help you determine that.
Okay. And then another question I'm coming up with on my own, and looking at this picture, I wonder if we don't have a rooftop to put the tipping bucket, what else do you recommend? Where can we put this that
Telephone pole.
pedestrians aren't?
Telephone pole.
Okay, awesome. Got to get them up away from the pedestrians so little Billies aren't running around trying to high five them and knock them around.
Got to get it up there. Plus, we want to get internet and get it up there and get it out of the way.
Is there any issue with cities getting permission to put that kind of thing on a pole, or not really?
None. We have found that has been, quite frankly, something we thought was going to be challenging to be crazy easy.
That's brilliant. We just had a project, and this is a little bit of a sidebar with you and I now that we've got just a couple minutes left. We just did a project in the city of Des Moines where we used rain guardians going down on a Fleximat and into bioretention. And I talked to the engineer, who's a very good friend of mine. He really could have been he would have benefited greatly from having PaveDrain along that same system. He showed me some other phases where they're doing permeables and permeable paving systems. And I think that he would be really interested in this. And I know he's not attending today, so I'll send him the link. But I see this as not necessarily just taking the place of those other options, but working together for green infrastructure. Most cities say that these permeable paving system like this is their first line of defense and can be their answer to all of their MS4 requirements. But it really does fit in with all the other offerings that are happening in green infrastructure as business is evolving. Don't you agree?
The documentation behind this to tell the story to your citizens or to anybody that says, we just captured 3 million gallons of stormwater on this project. That's a staggering number. And what we have happen on a couple of our jobs is the models said we were going to capture 80, 90,000 gallons. And we were capturing 4, 5, and 6 times that amount because the models were wrong.
That's awesome. And I think that's the story MS4s want to tell, is they want to get all the credit for all of their efforts, whether they're under a consent decree or not. I think it's very important that they measure these so they can submit those metrics to whoever's reviewing it. And so they can see the value of their dollar spent for green infrastructure.
Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you for doing this. We do have a couple more questions, but I want everybody to know we're going to send out a Survey Monkey like we always do to every attendee. That's how we send out the PDH certificates. Please fill out that Survey Monkey, because in that we're going to ask for your feedback on this presentation, which I think is going to be rave reviews for Doug, but it's also going to give you an opportunity to ask a question that you didn't get answered. And we'll also answer those questions in writing. So I'll work with Doug in the coming days. We'll share the Survey Monkey results with him, and he'll help us answer all questions in writing, including the ones we answered here today and the ones we didn't get to. And then we'll also ask you to tell us about a specific project or where you might see in this fit. We can get Doug involved on a moment's notice, and there's no obligation for him to give a recommendation of where he could see this system fitting in your project. And then I am a PaveDrain expert for our company, and we have a lot of awesome PaveDrain reps within our ASP Quick Supply Bowman family. We look forward to hearing from you. So it's towards the end of time. We did have a couple specific questions. I guess we do have time to answer those. Did you show a project in Kansas City, Doug?
Sure did. Trailhead.
Yep. And where was that located, they asked?
I can get that. I'd have to send me whoever was asking that. We'll send it out.
Same here with me, because I should have that because we were involved with that, but I didn't know the location.
But if you go to the PaveDrain website,
yes,
you can. It's probably on there, because if you go to our website, go to project locations, more than likely it is absolutely on there, and it'll tell you almost right down to within a few feet of it.
And I intend to have a map like that of my own on our website, but it's one of those things I've been meaning to do for years and haven't done it. So I know where that's at as well. We will answer that in writing, and the PaveDrain website is definitely a good resource. Thanks, Doug. Thanks everybody for attending. Join us again next Wednesday for Gray to Green to Smart with David Batts. We thank you all for joining us. And once again, thank you to our veterans. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.